Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am Lisa Poncha, and this is my husband, Lauren Poncha, here from Stemple Creek Ranch. They let us Californians all the way over to your neck of the woods.
Cool neck of the woods.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're not exactly accustomed to this weather, but we're surviving. Well, we are so honored to be here to share with you a little bit about our journey and about our business. Um, for those of you that have not made it to our breakout sessions, Lauren and I each have two additional sessions yesterday and today, and I know they're all being recorded, where we really deep dive into all of the topics that we're going to touch on this morning for you. So if you're wanting more on any of it, that is where you can find it. A couple of starting points. Lauren actually just had a stroke 3 weeks ago. And I know, believe it or not, but here he is. 3 weeks ago, I did not think that we were going to be up here being able to do this talk, but I'm so thankful that we are. Lauren's speech was affected, and so he's not able to talk quite as much and quickly as he usually does, which I don't know, maybe it's a good thing. But you are you are going to hear from him this morning for sure. But maybe not. I'm going to maybe do a little bit more than normally I would. But we have an hour this morning, and we have a lot of material to cover. We're going to hold questions until the end, and if we don't get to your questions, we are going to be here all day. And as a little bribery mechanism, we're bringing some Stemple Creek swag and beef jerky and beef sticks to our afternoon presentations. So there'll always be more time for questions then. Sound good? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to start with just a couple of our overarching principles. One thing that you're going to notice throughout our talk this morning is that we do a lot of different things in our business. We have many different enterprises, and we have sometimes suffered from doing too many things at, just really having to think through, why are we even doing this? And how we have done that is early on, we really sat down to think about what are our principles and what is the why? Why are we here? What are our long-term goals? And we wrote it down. The writing it down part is really important, because if you don't write it down, it never happened. And we have revisited that throughout the years. And when we've been at turning points of decisions we're making, it has truly helped us inform the decisions that we make, little decisions and big decisions. One thing is that we have three pillars of our business: honesty, transparency, and quality. And those are not concepts that we came across haphazardly. We truly talked about it, brainstormed about it, and really decided that those are core missions of who we are and what we want to represent in our business and in our family. And we also, since the very beginning, the whole purpose of us starting our business and getting into agriculture was that it needed to be profitable and it needed to support our family. And I know that's not always the case in agriculture, especially people that come from generational agricultural families. And I will tell you, I didn't. I'm not an agriculturalist by background or by family or anything like that. I'm not a rancher. I married a rancher. Lauren and I met in college, and that part of it was sort of an interesting thing for me. But we started with nothing, and we've never taken on investors. We haven't, taken on a lot of debt. And so we truly didn't have the luxury to ever not be profitable. And we're in the San Francisco Bay Area, where the tech industry is king. So that has felt unique in our journey. Whether it was really smart or really dumb, I don't know. But along the way, we've had many people be surprised and like, what? Wow, you have a profitable business. And quite frankly, we just never felt like we had the luxury to not be. And so that also has informed our decisions along the way. We truly have felt that in order for our business to be sustainable, it has to be sustainable not only for the land and for the animals and for the pasture, but for us and our family.
I grew up on the ranch, and I'm a fourth generation. If you look at this picture, the man sitting down is my great grandfather. The person to his left, like, the old man. I can't tell what it is. And then my grandfather, and then my dad, and the little baby, and the little baby is me. And there's the two empty chairs, and it's a very symbolic picture that's really allowed us to have a lot of pride in the generations. We've been farming for like 140 years, nonstop. And through that, there was not any pressure for me, like, come back and be the rancher, but I was like fired up to come back and be the rancher. And you'll see a little bit about our journey, that we had to adapt and change and be lifelong learners, and really figure it out. And basically, we're a first generation ranch in a fourth generation scheme. Like, we do nothing really that my parents or my grandparents did. But there is there's not, I mean, we do some of the same principles, but we adapt and change as necessary. So that's an important thing. When I went away to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, which was the best prize that I that I had, which is not a diploma, it's my wife. And amazing, in any of you, single men that want to really make a good decision about the person you marry, like, don't get in a hurry, because the person you marry is like amazing. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. I can only speak from the men's part, but yeah. So I really realized my junior year of college that there was an economic opportunity for me at the ranch. I wanted to come home, and I realized that there was an economic opportunity. So some of my friends said, you would be good at sales. And I worked for big corporations. I did a senior project on an organic dairy on my ranch, and I went to work for Monsanto selling BST. So the opposite end of the bell-shaped curve. But all the time that I was doing that, for 3 years, that company, like, it lighted me up and turned me on about, like, making the ranch successful, right? That's
good. Yeah, I got it. So fast forward, here we are. This year, Lauren and I are going to be celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary. As many of you, I'm sure, are trying to either start or run business operations with a spouse or with a family member. Can I get a show of hands? Okay, wow, quite a bit of you. It's not easy, am I right? Not for the faint at heart. We don't take that lightly. I mean, I'm being silly right now, but it is. It's a really big thing. And of course, there's the intergenerational part. So Lauren and I, when we were in our early days of marriage, we moved to another area in California. We both had corporate jobs. Um, and we were actually thinking about moving out of state. And when we were thinking about moving out of state, is really what got us talking about, like, well, what are we really going to do in our futures and what do we really want? And Lauren said, there's like those pivotal moments in your life that you don't know they're pivotal at the moment. But what Lauren said was, I feel like if we never actually try to make a real business in agriculture, that I'm going to regret not trying, even if we fail. And so we talked about it. We made a plan. You'll hear throughout our talk this morning that we're planners. Like, we really think through things and talk about them and write them down. And we put a little plan together, and we asked Lauren's parents to meet us for lunch one day. And Lauren's parents they had a cow-calf operation and sheep, and they were struggling. They were not extremely prosperous in the business that they were doing. Before that, his family had been in the dairy industry. It was a struggle. And, as most agriculturalists are, Lauren's dad was truly exhausted, understandably so. And we said to them, listen, we really want to eventually move back home to Marin County and start a business. And to be transparent, we really don't want to be in business with you. We don't want to have conflict. We don't want there to be a power struggle. We know that if we're going to do it, we're going to have to do a lot of things different, and we don't want to create tension. And so, no pressure, but if you're open to that, what we want to do is we want to lease your pasture and start buying our own cattle and just kind of, allow you to sell out over time. And to their amazing credit, Lauren's parents immediately said yes. There was no power struggle. I know this is very unique. But it was really, I think it was a two-way gift, because it was a gift in that they gave us an opportunity that many people don't have. And for them, it was an opportunity to slow down. We tried to do it as arm's length as we could. We put it in writing. We wrote a lease. We paid them rent. We took over all of the expenses of, the feed and the veterinarian and all of that stuff. And so we took on the risk for them. And so that was a gift for them. And that is really how we started our business.
I think that's important to know, that we had a leap of faith, and we did not want to come home to the ranch at 50 years old and try and do this. We wanted to have the opportunity to crank it up and not wonder what if. Not wonder what if we did this. And we had that. I mean, that's the most amazing story about, like, we had that opportunity to be like, what we're proud of is, like, we took the opportunity, and we don't wonder what if now. We see it amazing, that our vision, whatever.
We get it. Good job, babe. So we moved back to Marin County. We don't live on the ranch. We've lived in town about 45 minutes away for the last 20 years. We spent the first 3 or 4 years really working on infrastructure, fencing and water troughs and everything, so we could do rotational grazing, and really thinking about and dreaming about, like, where we could go and what we could do. Because one thing we knew for sure was that we couldn't do it the existing way because it wasn't prosperous. And we figured that we lived right there in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're about maybe 90 minutes from downtown San Francisco. And we figured that if we could create a niche product, then we could set our own price and not just rely on a commodity price in the market. It did not happen all at once. We did not have this, like, 50-page business plan that set out what the next 20 years were going to look like. It was truly 1 year at a time. As I'm sure many of you have in your own operation, Lauren and I are in a lot of ways very similar, but in a lot of ways very different. He's like the big picture, the dreamer, the always thinking 5 or 10 years ahead. I am very much like the analytical detail person. And, that definitely created challenging conversations along the way. But at the end of the day, I think it is truly one of our main contributors to the successes that we've had, because we would each ask different questions, and we would look at each decision point through a very different lens. Not only the lens that I don't have an agriculture background and he does, like I would ask questions that were totally outside the box that he would just make assumptions on from, the last 30 years of his life. And yeah, that is hard. This afternoon, I'm going to do a talk about creating and managing a team, and who you surround yourself with and the different team members that you have, whether they're formal or informal, is going to be a humongous aspect of your success. So at first we started buying cattle. The first group of cattle we bought actually was from Lauren's grandmother. And Lauren was very particular about the genetics that he wanted. And I remember driving down the road and him saying, I want all my cows to be black and I want them to be uniform. And, he had all of these dreams, which was really exciting to hear about. We first went to all natural. We eventually, a couple years late, we got organic certified in 2008. We were laying in bed one night and Lauren was reading the book, The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan. I'm sure many of you have read the book. And he had like a true aha moment about grass-fed, grass-finished. And he passed the book to me and was like, oh, you've got to read this chapter. And we talked about it. And we decided that we were going to hold our calves that year and finish them and just see what would happen. And as I'm sure you all understand, that was a scary decision because it meant we were foregoing any income on the ranch for that year. And we were taking a bit of a leap of faith. At this time, Lauren was still working in corporate America. He still had his corporate job. I think we had one little baby at the time. I'm an attorney. I had my own law practice at the time, and I've continued to part-time practice law continually until now. So it wasn't as scary as it would have been if we didn't have other income. But it was scary because we were juggling all of this, and we had already spent a lot of money in investing in the ranch infrastructure and in buying the cattle and all of that. So it did feel like we had a lot on the line. That is when we switched to the grass-fed, grass-finished model. And it was about a year later that we came up with the name Stemple Creek Ranch, and we, hired someone to design our logo and our first 5-page website.
Me. In 2005, we let's see here.
Okay. Okay, so our first enterprise, and for sure our collective first love, is beef. It is by far today, 20 years later, our largest enterprise. We've gotten a lot of questions about our overall enterprise mix, and I'll pepper in some numbers as we go. But we started with cattle. Yep, I already mentioned about getting organic certified. I think we can flip through this. A couple years in, we added in sheep. How the story goes: so Lauren's dad and grandma had a sheep operation, and Lauren was, shall we say, not very excited about it. And me being the non-ag person, and I'm also, between the two of us, I'm a little bit more risk adverse than he is. It's always good to have people on different ends of the spectrum when it comes to things like that. But I felt really passionately about diversification to balance out our risk. And so I felt strongly that even if Lauren didn't love raising sheep, that we really should, because it would add some diversification to the business. And so we did add sheep as our second enterprise. And later this afternoon, Lauren and Maddie, who we brought with us, one of our amazing staff members, they are going to do a whole talk specifically on multi-species grazing. So cute.
This is some of the sheep we have. We start lambing in November and finish in December, and then that's really the like December to June. We have maybe like 100-pound lambs. Yeah.
And then at some point, we added pigs to our livestock operation. Really, what prompted us to add pigs was we had requests from customers. I feel like every single day of my life, people were asking us specifically for bacon. It's very compelling. We started with a really small pig operation, and then I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or so, there was another really amazing, prolific pig um, ranch near us called Llano Seco, and they went out of business. And so we bought a lot of their genetics and equipment and expanded our pig operation a bit. Yep. We also have bees on the ranch. They're not our bees, but we work with a local apiary and they come and rotate out their hives. Obviously, for the obvious reasons, we love the pollination and the biodiversity that it brings to the ranch. And they also private label some honey for us. So my talk yesterday, I did a deep dive into all of our different enterprises and really the why, behind them. I'm just briefly going to touch that. Well, Lauren and I are disciples of the Ranching for Profit School. We went to the Ranching for Profit School about 13 years ago, and we are not paid affiliates but just huge supporters, and that what we learned there and what we continue to learn from the organization has really changed our lives. But one of the aha moments was the instructor was like drawing a big tree that had a bunch of branches and was like, sometimes you just have to cut a branch. Like sometimes the branch is deadwood and it's really dragging down the rest of the tree. And we've definitely over the years really had to think through some of the different things we were doing and decide, like, is this worth it? Is it not? Why are we doing it? The bees and the honey are one of those things, like, is it a big moneymaker for us? No, it's like a drop in the bucket. But it doesn't take a lot of our time and effort because the folks that own the apiary, they take care of the bees and they rotate them out. They do like the actual hard work and they private label the honey for us. Like the only thing we needed to do was have our team design the label, and people really love it. Like it helps tell the story. It helps kind of complete the picture. I mentioned that we've never taken on investors. We haven't taken on formal partners. Lauren and I own all of the entities of our business 100%. Some decisions that we've made either were really smart or really dumb. I don't know. At some point we'll make a decision and we'll tell you. But one thing that it has allowed us to do is to like go slow to go fast. We never felt pressure to grow fast. We never were like, oh, we're going to double our business this year. If you look at our revenue for the last 20 years, it's a slow and steady pace, increasing every year, about maybe 30% or so every year. So the first endeavor of direct-to-consumer sales was we put up our first website in 2009, just as I was like 39 weeks pregnant with our first child. That was really fun. And we sold whole beef, half beef, quarter beef, and whole lambs. And it was the type, shares where people could go to a local butcher shop and do custom cut and wrap and pick it up. We truly didn't know if we were going to have one customer. I remember putting up this website and thinking like, wow, how are people going to find our website and how are we going to get one sale? But this every time, a sale would trickle in and we would get so excited. And the amazing thing is that we still have customers today that were truly one of our first customers in our first year. And it's amazing. I would say for the first 5 years, I knew every single customer by name. And in the last 2 years, we've had some of those very first customers show up to some of our events at the ranch. And I cried when they introduced themselves to me and I heard their name, because it's, that type of meaning and relationship is really why we do this. Of course, we have to pepper in pictures of our kids. So shortly thereafter, were we got a phone call from the local nonprofit that runs quite a few of the big farmers markets in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we are lucky enough that we have one of the biggest farmers markets in the country in our county. It's the in the city of San Rafael at the Marin County Civic Center. It's every Sunday and every Thursday year round. It's prolific. Thousands and thousands of people shop at it every week. And we also get, there's also a lot of chefs from restaurants that shop there for their restaurants. And it's a waiting list. Like, it's very hard to get into these farmers markets. And we truly, at that moment, had not even considered it. We hadn't even brainstormed it. And someone from the organization called us and said, hey, we would like to invite you to participate in the Sunday market. And I was shocked. I was like, how do you even know who we are? I was just completely dumbfounded. And it really, we felt like we couldn't look the gift horse in the mouth. Like, how are we going to do this? We just felt like we had to make it happen. So with Lauren still working his corporate job, I had my law practice, we had an infant at home, and we very quickly figured out how to process some of our it was just beef and lamb at the time, USDA certified, so that we could package it for individual sale, for retail sale. And no, so we started selling at the farmers market, and that was a stepping stone, a really important stepping stone. More so, yes, we were connecting to the consumers in our area, but very quickly thereafter, we started having restaurant chefs say, hey, I've been buying your meat to cook at home, but I would really like it for my restaurant. And so then that is really how our wholesale business started. Right around this time, we had a dream of selling to Whole Foods. And this was before Amazon had bought Whole Foods. And our local Whole Foods in the North San Francisco Bay Area were buying all of their grass fed meat from a certain distributor. And that was like the only way in. And so we spent probably 2 years networking with the distributor, which was really a collective of ranchers, and the Whole Foods folks, to try and get in the door at Whole Foods. It was not easy. It took a long time. We were super persistent. And eventually, after 100 tries, the guy at Whole Foods was like, yeah, let's do it. Tell the distributor we want you in. We want you in the 9 North Bay Whole Foods stores. And so that was amazing. We sold them whole truckloads of beef, and we negotiated a very favorable price. And in a lot of ways, that was like the ultimate moment, right? We were just so thrilled. But the minute we were there and we saw our little picture and logo in the butcher case, we realized that maybe it wasn't the ultimate, because we went back to our brand values that we had talked about and that we decided on. And we realized that, like, okay, Whole Foods is this, huge multinational corporation. Like, do they really care about Stemple Creek Ranch? And what's going to stop them from buying from someone down the street for 5 cents, 5 cents less? And we just realized that it wasn't like a true value relationship partner. And so we decided to try and target locally owned grocery stores. And it took a while. It took, like, I don't know, a year or two, maybe more. We did sell to Whole Foods for a few years, but eventually we got into a locally owned small grocery store chain in Sonoma County called Oliver's Markets. They have 4 locations in Sonoma County. They're truly like the creme de la creme of, beautiful local food. And we have sold to them probably for the last, 15 years, maybe. They're one of our bigger customers. But this photo with the cool writing on it is in their grocery stores, like a humongous billboard. And it's kind of bizarre, actually. You walk in and there's like this huge photo of Lauren, but this demonstrates their true connection, to the local producer. And the grocery store does management meetings at our ranch, and they bring their butchers out to do educational tours. I mean, it's like a true relationship. And over the years, as we've had to make changes or raise prices or change the way we are selling our products to them, we've been able to say, hey, we need to sit down and talk, and we need to explain the realities of our business. And we really want to make this work, but it's not working for us right now. And every time, has it been a little scary to have those conversations? Yes. but it has worked because we have a true relationship and we care about them and they actually care about us. So now we are in 4 different weekly farmers markets. We sell our various products. We have beef, lamb. I mentioned the pork. We had so many people begging for chicken. For years, we tried to find someone that wanted to partner with us and come raise chickens on our ranch. And we would invest to kind of create the enterprise and have someone else do it. And we just never found the right partner. Someone yesterday asked me, well, how do you create these partnerships and how do you not screw up in creating partnerships? And my answer was you have to make really slow, methodical decisions, either when you're hiring someone or you're creating a partnership. And we never found the right partner, so we never did it. And just a few years ago, we started working with a farmer that we finally found, we had the right moment. And we found a chicken farmer that we did create a partnership with. And now we sell their chicken on our website. And it's clear, it's transparent. We don't pretend that we are raising the chickens on our ranch. We are very clear. This is another farmer who we believe in and we share the same values with, and we are selling their chicken. Does that make sense?
I didn't want to touch a chicken. I eat 3 eggs a day, so 3 less chickens.
Okay, you can switch. Okay, so here's our almost 17-year-old daughter, Avery. She works at the farmer's market for us sometimes on Sundays. And the folks that buy from us at the farmer's market, a lot of them remember her when we would be there at the booth when she was, a year old. So it's pretty wild. They get a huge kick out of it. We get a huge kick out of it. So just to kind of summarize, we sell our products in, as you've heard, a lot of different ways. When you look at our total revenue, we sell about 75% wholesale. We sell to grocery stores. We sell to restaurants. We sell, in different food service locations. We sell box beef. And we also sell CPG, individual packaged product to grocery stores, for grab and go. And then about 25% of our sales are direct to consumer, where we sell online. We ship boxes to all 50 states and at the farmers markets, as I mentioned. You'll see we also have non-perishable products. We have a beef jerky line. We have beef sticks. If you come to our afternoon presentations, you can try some. And we also do things like tallow and some other fun stuff like that. There's some of the packaging. This is one of our shipping boxes. Oh no. Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. So I'm so thankful that we started shipping off of our website pretty quickly after we started at the farmers market, because we realized, we're processing a whole animal, and of course we don't sell every single piece at the farmers market. And so we felt like we really needed another outlet to really help us sell the entire animal. We had an acquaintance at the time that had started a direct-to-consumer business, and they ended up with a freezer full of ground beef because they were able to sell all the steaks and not the other stuff. And it really traumatized me to where we really, really put so much focus into making sure that we were truly selling the whole animal, which, as you all know, can be a little tricky. And so at that time, we put some of the individual cuts up on our website. We, fuddled around to figure out insulated shipping boxes and dry ice and that whole thing. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And then before we would do the Sunday farmers market every Sunday, on that Friday night, as a fun date night activity, Lauren and I would take our two little kids to our little warehouse, and they would crawl around on the floor, and we would pack the boxes for all the orders that week so that we could ship them out on Monday morning. Yep, here's some of our merch. Recently, we partnered with a local beauty products small company. She was already buying tallow from us to create tallow products, and she private labeled some of our first tallow products. People are really loving it. Here's another example of we took plenty of time to not rush into something, and this is an example of okay, we are not experts on beauty products. We are never going to be. So let's work with someone who actually has the knowledge and the experience to do it together. I want to touch on a very important piece here, which is that there is absolutely no way that Lauren and I could have pulled off all of this. We have an absolutely phenomenal team. I would say right now we have about 20 employees. It is very hard to do that, to find the right people, to manage them. I'm going to do a whole talk about that this afternoon. But one of our principles and something that we really talk about and are thoughtful about is that we work hard to surround ourselves by people that are better than us and that challenge us, and to really open our minds. That's one of the reasons why we love to come to conferences like this, because we get to hear about what all of you are doing, and the questions that you ask and the things that we learn are really pivotal. We've had some amazing people that we could go to with questions and mentors and everything like that. We, about a year and a half ago, we hired a general manager for a meat company. His name's Connor Hackett. He's totally transformed our lives. He's really allowed Lauren and I to take a huge step back from our meat operation. He really manages the entire thing now. We engage very deeply and regularly with him, but it's really allowed us to take, for us to spend time on different areas of the business and more time with our family. And we're 49 and 51. Connor's 10 years younger than us. He has a lot of amazing dreams and aspirations for the future of our company, and we're super pumped for that.
This is another plug for the Ranching for Profit business, but we always wanted to be luxuries to the business. So we could go on a vacation, or we could do that. And we've had a lot of conflict in the last 5 years before Connor, real COVID and all of those things. And we just realized that allowing a person to come, and a capable person to come, and we be luxuries to the business, that we have kind of arrived, and we can see the business so much more clearly, and we're not working for crazy people now, self-employed people. So
yeah, one thing I want to touch on there is that I mentioned we've really sought out mentors throughout our journey, and I had a business operations mentor who's been very important to me. And one tool he taught me was we have a one-page document landscape, and we call it our strategic one-pager, and we update it every year. It's intentionally only one page. These things don't need to be a 50-page tome of rocket science. And the page is split in thirds. And on the left side is who we are. It's our values. It's our mission. It's who we are as a company. And over the last 15 years, that left-hand 1/3 of the page has maybe changed 3 words. That's it. It's been very solid. The very right-hand side of the page is where do we want to be in 5 years? That has also changed not that much over the years. One of the things that Lauren just mentioned, it has said consistently, is that in the future, we want me and Lauren to be luxuries to the business, which doesn't mean we're not participating. It just means we get to participate how we want to participate. And we are not chained either me to my desk or him, to his side by side at the ranch 12 hours a day. And it's, yeah, we're okay. And then, yeah, you can switch. And then one last thing about the one pager is that the middle section has our priorities for that year. And so maybe there's 3 to 5 in any given year, because we're not trying to be all things to all people. We know we cannot, change the whole entire company in 1 year. It's just, what are we focusing on for that 1 year? And as I'm going to talk about more this afternoon, every single employee on our team knows this, sees the one pager, understands, and they know how their job and their role is going to help us meet those goals for the year. So this year, we just rented a new warehouse in Petaluma, which is about the bigger town, about 15 minutes from the ranch. It was a huge moment for us. It's 13,000 square feet. It has a huge walk-in freezer, walk-in cooler, dry storage, office, conference room, kitchen. There's going to be like a little retail space in the front. We never could have made that happen without our amazing team. We were starting to move into the warehouse the day after Lauren had a stroke. And honestly, I was not worried. I was in the hospital, of course, freaking out about him. But I knew that our team had it covered. And Connor, our general manager, is the taller guy in the middle. He's really not that tall, but when he stands next to me and Lauren, everything is relative. And then Maddie, our employee who's here, who's going to be talking with Lauren this afternoon, is over on the right-hand side. Okay.
This is my section, the passion of the ranch, but we try and dance with Mother Nature and regenerative ranching, and we think that like regenerative ranching is something that's a new term, but we've been practicing for 30 or 40 years. So we basically fall into the bucket. We really, about 15 years ago, I was a grass farmer, and now I, because of the Marin Carbon Project and how I learned about soil health, we base everything on the soil, and then the grass is going to grow. I grew up on a dairy, and Nicole Masters actually put it to me the way that we were doing it. We would put a lot of sludge and slurry and manure, liquid manure, and we would go grow grass very tall. And she said, Lauren, you're growing McDonald's grass. Like, it's very nutritious. And you need to get the nutrient cycling, everybody, photosynthesis working to grow Chez Panisse quality grass. So like little teeny bites of highly nutrient dense food. And it's the same, it's a bell-shaped curve. The same, we still grow a lot of grass, but we grow a lot of more nutrient dense grass. So it's kind of funny. We use bricks refractometer once in a while. It's not a daily routine, but it's kind of, we didn't have bricks really, except for peak season, more than 5 to 8. And now we have bricks like routinely of 15. So it's kind of good. The Marin Carbon Project is it's one of the things that really, it's a 10-year study that showed, it actually showed, it was studying compost to show the difference between the management practices of compost and other management practices. Now there's like 26 management practices in a carbon farm plan, and we don't base that on the management of our ranch, but we base that on management of soil. So we have all these different buckets of the carbon farm plan. Later today, I'll talk about multi-species grazing, and we have a lot of sheep, and we have some guardian dogs, and a lot of coyotes, and that's going to be a good talk. This is a Stemple Creek watershed, and this is where we came up with the name. We've repaired the watershed over the years, and actually it's one of the things that I'm most proud about in my lifetime. If you build it, they will come. And it's if you build it, they will come. And it's a well, you can see on the next slide. So this is 1990. I think it's 2010 and 2018, and even better now. But this stream was degraded, and it was unintentional consequences. And I, growing up as a little boy, I thought that was normal. That was just normal. And I liked to hunt and fish and all of those things. And my dad was in high school at that stage, and he said, "We're going to fence off the creeks." And I'm like, who's gonna fix the fence when it floods? It was like I was not an opponent. I was an opponent of that. But age is like wise, and he I can't think of the words. I can't tell stories of because of my stroke, but he is wise beyond the ages. And basically now we have 55 types of migratory birds that nest in the creek, and the creek is what's the word, covered like with trees, and is shaded with trees, and there's a huge carbon sink. The water is more clear, and I hope that in my lifetime we're going to be catching steelhead again in this creek. But I don't know if any of you love beavers. I love beavers, and this is pristine beaver habitat, but with no beavers. So I'm gonna hopefully get some beavers. We don't have irrigation, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, we'll haze beavers if they plug a road or whatever. But like, we're gonna have beavers, and it's gonna change the water cycle, and it's regenerating the whole landscape, and it's gonna be awesome. And I hope that I come back here like 5 years and say, look what the beavers did. So okay, so we actually are doing beaver dam analogs with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and so we're creating mini beaver dams. It's actually kind of cool. And am I okay on time? Yeah, you're good. Okay. Yeah. This is cool landscape with fat cattle and fat sheep. We're photosynthesis farmers. Basically, we want a living root in the ground all year. And we actually have a Mediterranean climate. So we're actually seasonally dry, like 6 months out of the year. We like life in the soil, obviously, and we actually do nomadic grazing. So I hit on that yesterday. We actually partner with other ranches when the grass is dry in our area, the grass is green in other areas in California, and we will move the cattle there and finish them there and send them straight to harvest. Usually there are cattle, but sometimes they're partners. We share the same bulls a lot of times. We'll buy a really nice bull and then we'll use them for multiple herds. I'm stuttering. It's funny. This is my office. Our carbon farm plan is working. We actually grow a lot more forage than our neighbors, and that's really what we've learned on over the years. Oh yeah, this is I have to be honest. I like Lisa talking better.
That's a first. Okay, so I'm going to start with the punchline here. We have done a lot of work over the last 15 years diversifying into agritourism. And people ask us, someone asked me yesterday, like, oh, do you make more money in agritourism than you even do on your livestock? And the answer is no, not even close. When you look at our total overall revenue, we make maybe 5% of our revenue direct from the agritourism. It does not mean it's not significant. It's very significant. The reason why it's very significant is because really all of that money that we make from agritourism has allowed us to reinvest it into the property. I didn't talk about it in this talk, but Lauren and I bought the ranch next door to the ranch that he grew up on. And we have a mortgage, and that ranch was very much in disrepair. We bought it about 13 years ago. We did a lease option. I actually think what we did was amazing and life-changing, and I explain it more in my talk that I did yesterday. So if you're wondering, like, oh, how can I buy a ranch? We absolutely did not have a huge chunk of money that we could just run around and write a check for a ranch. But and I talk more about how we did it in yesterday's talk. But not only did we have to pay the mortgage, but we also needed to figure out a way to pay to fix up the property. And so agritourism is really how we did that. The other key to agritourism is that it brings thousands and thousands of people to our property every year. And not only are they paying for that privilege, but they are our marketing team, every single one of them. A lot of them come, they don't even know who Stemple Creek Ranch is. They don't even know that there's food being grown in Marin and Sonoma counties in the Bay Area. So we have not spent a lot of time on Google AdWords or Facebook ads. We do that a little bit, but very, very, very little. And the agritourism has truly been the guerrilla marketing to support our meat company. The other part of it is that it's the community aspect. You know, when people come to our ranch for whatever reason that they're going to be there, they're learning about what we do. A lot of times they meet us, they look in our eyes, they shake our hands, they smell the air, they see our animals. And it has allowed us, we host fundraisers, you know, for the local nonprofits and the local community organizations. And that feels really good to us. One of the things we do is that we've done hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, it's all a blur, of educational ranch tours. For the first 5 years or so, we did them for free. We would just post them on our website and on social media and at the farmers market, and people would sign up and show up. And, you know, in the early days, I had a baby strapped to my chest, and we would just walk around and explain to people what we were doing. We would grill, you know, little tasters. And we figured our strategy at the time was, if people actually came to the ranch and met us and saw what we were doing, it's checking the box of one of our pillars, which is transparency. They would see that we were actually doing what we said we were doing. and that they would believe in us and that it would be a true partnership, that they wouldn't necessarily go buy a pound of ground beef from someone else for 20 cents less because they had created that relationship. And then, of course, at the beginning of this was just when social media was starting. And so that was just a complete bonus, that not only would they come and meet us and buy our products, but they would then post about it on social media and share it with their friends. Here's a video from one of our recent we do a big, we do different size and scale and scope of educational events throughout the years. We do private tours. We do a big, huge open house barbecue every year. We do smaller ranch tours maybe once a month with more like 50 people. Over the years, we've rehabbed 4 different ranch stays on the property. This is the first one, the cabin. We really did this one first because we just wanted a place to stay at the ranch for our own family. And as most things that happen in the Poncha family, I was upset about how much money we spent on the construction. And it's like cheaper to just tear down the building and rebuild it than it is to keep all the old redwood and the history and all of that. And Lauren was like, oh, well, maybe we should rent it out on Airbnb and just see if we could make some money off of it. And so I think it was like 1 week by the time I posted it on Airbnb and had our first guest staying. And Lauren was like, oh, I didn't know we were actually going to do that. I was just like brainstorming. But it was the beginning of a beautiful thing. That was about, I would say 12 years ago when we first started, and we slowly did one building at a time. We now have it's a wonderful income stream. And again, it's bringing all those people to the ranch. They buy products when they're there. They grill it, in their little backyard. Okay, flip through. Okay, this is the writer's cottage. It's a little tiny studio with an outdoor shower. It's like it has a cult. The outdoor shower has a cult following. This is the schoolhouse. The family that we bought the ranch from, his wife ran a preschool out of this house, and Lauren and his 3 older sisters and all the local kids went to preschool there. So that's a pretty cool part of the story. And then this is Zia's farmhouse. This is on the first ranch that Lauren's great grandparents worked on and then purchased when they first immigrated from Italy. It's about a mile away from our core event venue. We'd had long-term tenants in it for about 20 years, and the house was totally trashed. And about 3 years ago, we embarked on possibly the most challenging part of our 25-year marriage, which was gutting that entire house from, the foundation all the way up. But one thing about all of these ranch stays, not only, of course, people pay us to come stay and then they buy our products and then they, share it with their friends, but it's also really meaningful for our wholesale business because the grocery stores and the restaurants, we have the owners and the managers and the meat buyers and the butchers and the chefs and the servers come to the ranch, and they do a tour and they hear about what we're doing, and we invite them to stay over, and they bring their families, or they come, do a barbecue, and it truly, they become true believers in what we're doing. Okay. Okay, so we're going to flip through very quickly here. We have an event venue in our rehabbed event barn. We do weddings, we do farm to table dinners, we do corporate events, we do fundraisers, as I mentioned before. And is the actual revenue from the events meaningful? Absolutely it is, but it is a drop in the bucket compared to our meat company. There you go. So you'll see here our social channels. If you're really interested in the events and the ranch stays, we actually have a separate Instagram, which is Stemple Creek Events. Our main Instagram, Stemple Creek, it does highlight the event venue and the ranch stays, but it's a lot more meat and ranching heavy. And I have our main customer service email up here. If you email in there and say, hey, Lisa, then I will see the email if you have any questions in the future.